just that excitement knowing that it's that time of the year. It's unbelievable.
Wisconsin football is back, and so are we. He's Jim Polzin from the Wisconsin State Journal. I'm Zach Hanley, and this is the Badger Blueprint. The anticipation, the waiting, and all the off-season training is all over. Game week is here. Wisconsin officially kicks off the season under the lights on Saturday night against Illinois State. And you could say the guys are pretty excited about game number 1 of their season.
You get winter, you get spring ball, summer, and then camp, and you kind of get tired of playing your guys after so long. So yeah, I know the guys are ready to play.
I lose some sleep over it, just overexcitement about the first game, and just taking that first carry and getting to play against people in a different color jersey for the first time. It's definitely exciting.
Let's take a look at the schedule as a whole. What stands out, and how many wins do you see for them?
I think the thing that stands out the most to me is how different the schedule is compared to last year. If you remember last year, it was Penn State right out of the bat, and Notre Dame and Michigan in those first 4 games. And Wisconsin went 1-3 in those games. It really kind of put them in a hole. This year's much different. You lead off with Illinois State. You have Washington State and New Mexico State in a typical traditional non-conference schedule leading into the Big Ten. I think that's a chance for Wisconsin to build some momentum early, unlike last season. However, and I know you're going to get into the specifics of this, the road schedule is pretty brutal, which is why I have this team going 8-4.
Yeah, you mentioned their Big Ten schedule. I think it's brutal. At Ohio State, the Badgers haven't beaten the Buckeyes since 2010. Ryan Field has been a house of horrors for Wisconsin. They're 1-6 in their last 7 trips to Northwestern, and their final 3 at Iowa, at Nebraska, and then against Minnesota. That's a tough stretch to close it out. I'm going a little more, I think 9 or maybe 10 wins this year. It's a make-or-break season for Graham Mertz. The Badgers' QB1 is coming off a year where he threw more interceptions than touchdowns. That didn't sit right with him, so this offseason he took a different approach and went back to quarterback school, where he picked Brooks Bollinger and Scott Tolzien's brains while dialing in on making the right decision.
Obviously the guy that puts in all that work, if you want it to pay off on Saturday, I know it's going to. I love the strides he made in the offseason. I'm just excited to see what he can do.
I'd say decision making, not forcing it into windows that aren't there, making the right play when needed. So I'd say that was the biggest improvement.
Now, it's always about playing consistent with Mertz. Jim, is he the guy with the most pressure to perform this season on the offense?
Yeah, I think so. If I'm picking one individual, it's got to be Graham Mertz, who has to be better. He's got to cut back on turnovers, higher completion percentage. When the plays are there, he has to make them. It's that simple. But if I'm picking an entire group, I'm going to choose the offensive line, because I think there's a lot of pressure on that group as well. New offensive line coach Bob Bostad, who has had a history of success here, I think he'll make that group better. But that group has to return to the standard of being a really great offensive line.
I'm going to go with the receivers. You take away Chimere Dike, Skylar Bell, Dean Engram, Marcus Allen, and Keontez Lewis have a combined total of 4 catches in a Badger uniform. They made a lot of plays during fall camp, and for Mertz's sake and the offense's, I hope that continues during the season. Jim Leonard had the best unit in the country last season. The Wisconsin defense allowed 16 points and 65 rushing yards per game. That's domination week in and week out. This year, 8 of those starters are gone. But it's not a rebuilding year on D. The Badgers say they've just reloaded.
All the guys on defense know that people think, oh, new starters, like, is this defense going to be as good? And that just adds to, like, our motivation, our chip, right? That's what we do here on defense. We are lights out. We're best in the country, or top 5 in the country, right? So that's expected. There should be no drop-off.
There's a lot of studs gone from last season, meaning a lot of new faces in new starting roles. What new group of Badgers intrigues you the most?
To me, it's the cornerbacks. They've really reloaded at that position, went hard in the transfer portal, got Jay Shaw from UCLA, Cedric Dort from Kentucky, Justin Clark from Toledo. I think all those guys are going to play a role. It's a new look cornerback group, but I think it'll be just as good as last year.
And coming up next, Illinois State. Who are they, and why Wisconsin is treating them like every other team on their schedule? More Badger Blueprint after the break. Illinois State isn't the toughest test right out of the gate. They're an FCS school from the Missouri Valley and are coming off a 4-win season. But to the Badgers, it doesn't matter if the Redbirds were an NFL team, a JV team, or even a flag football team. They're treating this opponent like every other one.
I wouldn't necessarily call it a warm-up. Like I said, I think I look at every game the same, really. it's a chance for me to go out there and put the pads on somebody different.
I mean, they're D1 kids too. I mean, every single game to us is, you only get 12 opportunities guaranteed in a season. So I think that overlooking somebody or taking an opportunity lightly is kind of selfish and kind of foolish as well.
They can't call it a cupcake, but we can. It's not a matter of if Wisconsin will win, but by how much, Jim.
Yeah, I really want to see this new look Bobby Engram offense. They're going to be able to run the ball with Braylon Allen and Ches Malusi, but I want to see some passing sprinkled in, a glimmer of hope from the passing game with Graham Mertz. I say Wisconsin 38, Illinois State 7.
This game should be a blowout and will be a blowout, but not a shutout. Illinois State scores late. The defense going to be upset about that, but Wisconsin will end up 1-0. And that's it for this week's Badger Blueprint. Thanks for watching.